प्रभु तव मूर्ति विनोदकारी, पलपन विसरे नहीं जो विसारी। जुगल चरण सोल चिन्ह जेह, नजर समीपे रहो हमारी एह। बोलो हरि कृष्ण महाराजनी जय, घनश्याम महाराजनी जय। Our Almighty Lord, Supreme Lord Swaminarayan, His Divine Holiness, Pujapad Guruji, and all of you viewers who are watching this lecture, humbly, Jai Swaminarayan. Today's topic applies for everyone, whether being good or bad, whether understanding a little or understanding a lot. Everyone has something to do with the topic that I'm going to talk about today. We can say that this topic is a foundation for our society and civilization. Ralph Waldo Emerson once quoted, "The true test of a civilization is not in its census, not the size of its cities, nor the crops, but the kind of men the country turns out." What is he trying to say? Let's think. It doesn't have to do with large cities or the kind of businesses that are in such a city or society, but it has to do with the men it turns out. Emerson is talking about character. When he says the kind of men, he's talking about character. Today, my topic for all of you is character. Character is the home of happiness if it's placed in a certain position. And we're going to talk about it today. As humans, our value is determined by our character. It is one of the most important elements for humans to maintain. We can say character is helping the needy. We can say character is donating money. We can say character is just manners. Or we can just say character is adequate. But character is something more than just these things I mentioned above. All these things are physical. But character is also on a mental aspect. Some view this, but some cannot see this. That's something to do with character. Now, according to Oxford Dictionary, I have the exact meaning of character. Character means the collective qualities of characteristics, especially mental and moral, that distinguish a person or thing. Moral strength. This is the exact definition which Oxford Dictionary applies. Now we can see that character is not only physical, but in society there's a trend. People just think that I have good character because I donate money, or I have good character because I am polite. Sure, that is part of good character, but there's something more to that. There's something more deeper. There's something deeper inside the ravine that needs to be seen. And today we're going to take a look at it. Now, Dwight Moody, a socialist, he quoted that character is what you are in the dark. Meaning, it's not something that can be seen outside only. Whenever you're alone, think. Whenever you're alone, examine your own self, and your true character will come out. Because the human species, or the human mind, is set to such a stage where if it's in the presence of people, then one's character changes. If it's in just isolation, meaning in a very empty place just by itself, then one's true character actually shows. But there are very few people who have character also when they're isolated and also when they're among people. Same. This is very rare to see, but it is possible. Now, our true character or nature is not seen when we're alone. That's obvious. But one can see it when one is in an adverse circumstance or situation. How one's character is, how one behaves. Meaning our nature. That's the general word we can use. Or Shree Maharaj uses in the Vachanamrut, our Sobhau. We can go as far as saying character is the home of all virtues. All virtues lie in character. That's why I want to tell you a small story in the time of Shree Maharaj, which exactly showed how character should be and how character is exemplified. So one time, a group of devotees from a far distant town came to Gadpur to have the darshan of Shree Maharaj. They had the darshan of Shree Maharaj and they listened to some of his divine gospels, and then they headed towards Dada Kachar's darbar, which they were across from, but it took a little distance to walk. So as they were walking through the street, they came across a Jain temple there, and there was a devotee, a boy satsangi, who was walking with the crowd, and what he did was he spat on his side without looking. But the mistake he made was that he spat on a Jain saint, and when he spat on the Jain saint, the saint became furious and in commotion. And what he did was he told all his devotees and all his followers that this Swaminarayan boy spat on me. So they started to protest and they started to go against Shree Maharaj. And they said that, what kind of things are you teaching here? You're teaching young boys to spit on saints? This is your way? Shree Maharaj got this word. And Shree Maharaj immediately came to that saint. And with 2 hands, he folded and he said, "Please forgive me, Swami, that this boy has spat on you. I will take the burden on my shoulder." Look at the character. Shree Maharaj was God himself, yet he asked for forgiveness on behalf of the boy. The mistake was the boy's. He showed bad character. Knowingly or unknowingly, that's on the side. But his character was out of line. But Shree Maharaj's good character, what he did was he went up to the saint and he bowed and he said, "Please forgive me for my actions." Even if it wasn't his actions, he took it on his shoulder. This is character. This was Maharaj at that time. He won over his opponents with his character. He did not use any kind of weapons. He did not use any kind of force or violence. But by his personality, by his character, he won over everyone he faced. Or not faced, but he encountered. There's many, many incidents when he was Nilkanvarni and Sajanand Swami and even Ghanshyam as a small child. But if you look at the minute details of Shree Maharaj's actions, what kind of personality he had and he has, it was completely different from the world. And that's why even the most sinful people had to say and had to bow down and say that this is the supreme God himself because of his character. Now, this is just one example that I showed you. A very simple example. But if we look at many, many details in Maharaj's life, it is tremendously obvious that his character was beyond any human characteristics. That's why he won over the crowd. So humbleness is the best foundation for character, you can say. Being a teen or being even an adult, you can see in your day-to-day life that if you're humble, many people like you and many people are attracted towards you because of your character. No one likes a person who has ego, but everyone likes a person who's humble. To develop and maintain a good character, one first needs the foundation of humbleness in his life. If one develops this foundation of humbleness, then he will gain all the virtues of, you can say, human life and all the virtues that one needs to become happy in this lifetime. Not only on a spiritual basis, but also on a social basis. Obviously, there's people that are not all religious, yet they're all social and they live in the worldly life, yet they're happy because their character is so defining. Their character is so brilliant that everyone is attracted towards them. But even more than that, that person himself feels satisfied that my character is something out of the ordinary. It's not obnoxious. It's not rude, but it's polite. It's doing good towards the world. That's why that person is liked. Now, as teens, our character, how should it be? Shree Maharaj shows his first step by revealing that humbleness is the base to all virtues. Now, I want to do a practical program with all of you who are viewing. Now, I want you to think in your minds, how is my character? Good or bad? You don't have to speak. You just have to think. Now, your heart will tell you the truth, whether your character is good or bad. Or you don't even have to practically think. You can just see, because all the actions you're doing, you'll be able to tell, is it in the line of Shree Maharaj or is it out of the line? We can say every person has three characteristics. One, that he exhibits, meaning he shows. One, that he has. And one, that he think he has. Meaning, not everything we show is our character. Sometimes we want to show it. Sometimes we have it. That's good. But sometimes we don't even have it, but we think we have it. The best kind of mode you can say is to know your own character and to develop on top. Now, the Shikshapatri, written by Shree Maharaj himself, exemplifies moral character in the best way and to the highest degree. He shows each and every devotee and non-devotee how to live a proper human life according to society, according to religion, according to each and every part of life. He shows in his Shikshapatri. By following such, Shree Maharaj says that one will attain happiness not only in this world, but will attain happiness in the world after. So this is a promise that Shree Maharaj makes to himself. Not to himself, but to all the people who follow the instructions guided in Shikshapatri. Now, there's something more. Keeping and losing character. On adverse circumstances, we tend to lose character. On circumstances that are more equate to us, we tend to keep character. But there's no balance. Meaning the best thing is to have balance. The best thing is to have balance even in the worst conditions and even in the best conditions. When one does this, then one becomes happy. Not only for a moment, but for a long period of time. Nowadays, but it seems harder than ever to keep good character. With the increasing doses of violence, corruption, and bad ethics that are force-fed by commercials, TV, movies, magazine ads, billboards, so many media, so many kinds of ways that our mind becomes corrupted. Due to that, our character also becomes corrupted. Now, in order to keep our character beyond these kinds of influences, we must try to filter out the bad and only take in the good. For example, suppose we have a pot that is full of dirty water. If we keep pouring pure water into the pot, eventually all the dirty water will flow out and that pot will be filled with pure water. In the same way, such kinds of media that are in society, movies, you can say, movies, horror movies, thrilling movies, bad movies that show alcohol, drugs, all these kinds of bad things that not only attack our eyes, but truly it attacks our brain. We can say that the brain is kind of like a hard disk. And more than that, the soul is a super hard disk, which is recording all the events that this human is viewing through his eyes, his ears, his nose, or his tongue. Each and every sense, whatever we're taking in from this world, our soul is recording it. And the soul is such a hard disk, which doesn't have a limit to space. It's unlimited space, meaning it's not only 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes, but however much it can take in, it absorbs. Meaning if we absorb such kind of bad cinema or billboards or magazines, or even read such bad kinds of scriptures or literature, then our character obviously is not going to become what we want it to be. It's obviously going to become corrupted and not towards the standard of Shree Maharaj. That's why we want to keep away from all these kinds of things. Now, as teens, I understand that it's hard because of college and peer pressure and friends. But the value and the benefit you won't see right now, but you'll see in the future. So to keep the future safe, you want to do this right now. That's why I encourage all of you to try to filter out what you see and only try to see something educational or see something that is going to help you in school or anything like that, but nothing that's going to disrupt your heart. Because psychologically, by viewing such kind of killings and such kind of bad activities, one's psychological mind also becomes disturbed. One also tends to have bad dreams. These are all psychologically studied events that happen, that whatever the human sees, it appears again in front of him and it disturbs his mind. Due to this, we must try to stay away from these kinds of influences. But this is all to save our character. It's all to help our character build. That's why it's such a big burden. And that's why it's such a big influence that I need to put burden on this topic. Just imagine a ketchup stain on a white t-shirt. It can be seen. In the same way, such kind of media which influences our mind, it stays like a stain and it can't be removed. And wherever you wear that shirt, even if it's washed, it's still, that stain will stay and remain there. In the same way, all the media that is influence your mind, it won't be erased, but it'll stay there if you don't be aware today. But now let's talk about let's listen and view a story in the time of Shree Maharaj that views that shows keeping and losing character. Now, when Nilkanvarni was traveling through the forest, he came across a sadhu named Sevakram. Many have heard of this name, Sevakram. He was a great scholar. He studied Srimad Bhagavat and other scriptures. But as they were traveling, he fell sick with dysentery. So he began to cry because he had no one to nurse him. So Nilkanvarni said, I will help you and I will nurse you. Even though that saint had 1,000 gold coins, yet he had no one to take care of him. So he pleaded to Nilkanvarni. So Nilkanvarni agreed. And he said, I will take care of you. Nilkanvarni would wash his clothes when he became sick. He would give him he would give him food. He would buy everything for him. Everything. But the problem was that Sevakram never even asked Nilkanvarni if he wanted any food. The money they were getting the food from was Sevakram's. But he only gave enough money to Nilkanvarni so that it would be enough for one person. And obviously, Nilkanvarni knew that Sevakram was sick, so he had to feed him. So sometimes Nilkanvarni would go on fasts, and he would not be able to get any kind of food. That was a problem. But yet, Nilkanvarni did not say a word to Sevakram. He helped him until his body was recovered and he was back to normal. Yet, while they were traveling, Sevakram made Nilkanvarni carry 20 kilos of his belongings on Nilkanvarni's back. Yet he never thanked him ever. Yet he never offered him food. Seeing this ungrateful act, Nilkanvarni pretty much left Sevakram. Now, back to our topic, keeping and losing character. You can obviously see who kept character and who lost character. We can say Nilkanvarni kept character, obviously, because even though he was in distress, even though he was, you can say, suffering, yet he maintained his character and he helped Sevakram out until his recovery, until he had full recovery. On the other side, Sevakram lost character because even after he was recovered, or even let's say when he was sick, he did not even give enough money to Nilkanvarni for food. And after he recovered, yet he still did not offer any food, and he made Nilkanvarni carry his belongings, even though he was strong enough to carry his belongings by himself. This is when he lost his character. Meaning you can obviously see that there's two kinds of trends. Now, you decide who kept character and who lost character. But now my question to you is, what kind of character did Nilkanvarni show? Humbleness. He did whatever Sevakram said. The foundation to any good character is humbleness. So, I want all of you to think about this story. And whenever you come in any kind of distress, be humble in a fashionable manner, but never lose your character, never lose temper, or never become frustrated and show any kind of bad points of yourself. Now, moving on, let's look at some factors regarding keeping character and losing character. Now, factors about keeping character: behaving in a way that pleases God, saints, his devotees, and you can say everyone around you. This is keeping character, meaning whatever they like, whatever Bhagwan likes, whatever saints likes, we do. That's when you kept character. Second, doing the right thing at the right time. Meaning there's always certain kinds of circumstances when it's hard for us to do the right thing. But the best way to make a good decision is to look into your heart. Your heart will always tell you what the right decision is. So doing the right thing at the right time. That's my second point. And my third point for keeping character is staying beyond bad influences. As we reviewed, the media is such a bad influence, but staying beyond it, staying pure, you can say, is the best way to keep good character. On the other hand, how can we see that we've lost character? Misbehavior, according to Shree Maharaj and his standards and society itself. Now, many people see that, many people that are not religious, they still do not keep character even in society. But as devotees, we must not only keep character according to Shree Maharaj's word, but we must also keep character in our society. Why? Because we live in it. So we have to keep character no matter what. We live in it, so we have to behave according to it. We have to mold ourselves to society, but not in a bad, fashionable manner according to Shree Maharaj's standards. So they both go parallel in one way. Second, harmfully acting towards others. As teens and adults, this tends to be an issue because we may not physically harm anyone, but our words are harmful, or not even that, our thoughts are harmful. This is also when we lost character. Losing character is not only, as we mentioned, physical, but it's mental. Even thinking bad about someone is also considered losing character. That's why we have to be aware and just see the good in everyone. And lastly, misleading others. Meaning, if we show someone on the wrong path or we mislead someone to do the wrong thing, this is when we've lost character. So these are many factors about keeping and losing character that we should be aware of while we're doing our actions in society and while we're going about everywhere. But in the end, our true asset, we can say, it's not our money. It's not our luxurious home or our nice car or our property or even our health or our fame or beauty. But our true asset is our character. That's why putting it beyond all these things and keeping it at a high level, our character is the best asset for any human being. It is such an asset that never vanishes. Whether being good or bad, it always stays with you like a shadow, you can say. Everyone has character. Without it, we wouldn't be considered humans, you can say. Meaning everyone has nature. So lastly putting, our main goal, let us keep our character according to the commands of Shree Maharaj and according to everyone, so everyone becomes pleased upon our behavior, and most important, Bhagwan and saints become pleased upon us. So saying this, keep your character pure, because it's the best way to earn the grace of Shree Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj Ni Jai.